Welcome to the Lawson and Gift podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, share the videos, and subscribe. The Rams have been a little bit in a bad situation, but now they made a big trade. They get Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, the best corner in the NFL. They do give up 2 first-round draft picks this year's and next year's. We'll see if that's worth it or not, but I think it is.
I think they gave up too much. I don't. Giff, we know they're in a desperate situation. We know their backs are against a wall, and this division is quietly sliding away from them. They're getting to a point where they might not be able to make this up. They might not even be able to slide into a wild card. When you look at, the NFC West, when you look at the NFC North, it's going to be difficult for them. But they have a lot of games against the NFC West. But with this being said, this is a short-term move, and I don't think long-term it's going to result too well in them because they got a lot of players who are on enormous contracts that they're stuck with. They're going to need these draft picks in the coming years to rejuvenate this team. Obviously, this year it wasn't rejuvenated enough. That's why they had to put everything on the table and get Ramsey. I also question if they're able to re-sign Ramsey. And then thirdly, I wonder, does Ramsey even want to play with the Rams? Or we know LA is big, but is this enough fanfare for him, given that their stadium usually has 60-70% opposing teams when they play? We saw that against San Fran. It's just something about this move smells wrong to me. And I'm not sure Jalen Ramsey even resigns with them. Then they gave up 2 first-round draft picks for nada.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said we'll wait and see if it's worth the 2 first-round picks. Because if they can't resign them to a long-term deal, it's not worth it just for this year. Because you got to figure, if we felt like they were a corner away from a Super Bowl, then it'd be one thing. But with the offensive issues that they're having, obviously, they're going to still have issues at the other corner position. Those problems aren't going to go away with Talib on injured reserve now. So, look, it's a great move. It's going to make Wade Phillips' job a lot easier for him. But I do think it's a bit much if they can't re-sign him to a long-term deal. If they get him to a long-term deal, this is totally worth it because, as I've said time and time again, it makes everything so much more easier when you got Ramsey defensively.
And do they think they can win a Super Bowl this year? That's my question, and I feel like they're an offensive lineman away.
If they got, that's the thing. There's like I said, there's so many problems offensively. If they got the run game going, and that was all going to work itself out, then I would say, all right, this is a great move. But we don't even know if that's going to pan out yet. Is Gurley ever going to get back to being fully healthy?
And they're stuck paying Gurley. That's the problem. And you give away these 2 resources you have the next 2 years. And given the Rams' quality, we know it's not going to be like a top 5 draft pick or a top 10. But these draft picks still matter. And if I'm a Rams fan, I'm cautiously optimistic. Man, when they see Ramsey playing, you're right. He is the best corner in the league. But do you want to give up the future when you're already 2 games behind the 49ers and down, and you already lost a game head-to-head? Do you want to give up the future when you're probably 2 games behind the Seahawks and you already lost head-to-head against them? Man, the Rams have a lot of work to do this year, and I'm not sure they can do it. And also, maybe it might be more of the league catching up to Sean McVay than, the talent deteriorating at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, really offensively, as I've said before, I feel like McVay and his scheme, it really wasn't anything creative. It was just the fact that they were so dominant with the run that it opened up to the point where receivers were running wide open because teams had to focus so much on Gurley and the offensive line. The one good thing I can say about this trade, though, is that they are cutting down on their problems as a team. I mean, honestly, Talib going on IR.
But Talib going on IR, the injured reserve might be the biggest thing. Might be bigger than this trade, though, because we knew he wasn't playing good quality football. But, man, when it matters, that dude can get physical in the playoffs. He can literally be legit against big physical receivers. And like you said, they're still a corner down.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like they're in a better position now with Ramsey because obviously Peters was terrible, so they got rid of that dead weight and traded him to Baltimore. So I think that they've made the situation better, but there's still that's why the 2 first-round picks might be a little bit much, especially if they can't re-sign them because there's still other issues on the table, and you mentioned them already, and that's a problem.
From a Jags perspective, I think they won the trade. I mean, you never want to give up a player like Ramsey, but they almost got to the point where they didn't have a choice. And I wasn't expecting the price tag to be 2 first-rounders. So if you're a Jags fan, I think you're happy with it. But one thing you said pre-show keeps sticking in my head, that they won't be able to keep players like this when they draft them. So what is really the point?
That's the real disheartening thing. And if you're a fan or if you're a player on that team, I would imagine that you feel a little bit lifeless in a sense. Because Ramsey is more than a cornerstone. Obviously, he's a phenomenal talent. If you can't keep a player like that you drafted, that's your guys going and doing the scouting and finding a talent like that, and you can't even keep him. He doesn't even want to play for you because whatever the issue is, it doesn't really matter. The fact is he didn't want to play for Jacksonville, and now they're left. And that's what I was saying. How are they going to build a team going forward if you can't keep your cornerstone players like that?
Yeah, no, and you're right, Giff, and they better hope this Minshew guy transforms into a franchise quarterback. I'm not so certain about it, but Jags fans are really optimistic about it, but they were also really optimistic about Blake Bortles throughout his tenure there. So if Minshew doesn't pan out, the Jags just return to where they were before, 3, 4, 5 wins every year, and ignored and pushed in news stories to move to London. Maybe that is their destiny as a franchise, and it's rather sad.
It's unfortunate with Jacksonville. It just seems like everything that we used to talk so highly about with this team is falling apart. The quarterback position, obviously with Foles getting hurt, because that's where we were at before the season started. They're a quarterback away from being a contender for the Super Bowl. That's where we were at. And it's just funny how fast things change. Now, all of a sudden, Leonard Fournette isn't really that effective. This offensive line, we thought that they put together a pretty damn good line before the season started, and we thought the run lanes would be wide open.
People pack an 8-9-man box, and then they'll say Minshew got 300 yards, and teams just pack the box against the Jags. They know how to beat them.
And I hate to be the person to say it, and maybe it's early for me to say it, but I don't really believe in Minshew. I think he could be average at best, but I don't think he's I don't think he will be a franchise quarterback. I don't think it's... I just haven't seen anything that special from him.
It's just because he looks like he's from, the movie Anchorman. We're supposed to believe he's really good quarterback, or plays good against Carolina, and they still come up short, that he's supposed to be a cornerstone.
Yeah, or only put up 6 points against New Orleans. Even though New Orleans is good still.
It's a bad organization at the end of the day. It is a bad organization. And there's really I don't know if there's much coming back from this, because like you said, the long-term repercussions of Jalen Ramsey not signing, and what it says to players in that locker room, what it says to players around the league, and also what it says to the fans. You're just kind of here in a holding pattern. You don't get anything nice. You might have that nice thing for a year, but we're going to send it away because that nice thing doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, well, they might as well bring out some extra tarps because they're going to need it for the seating. And
it's sad, man, because I really felt like this franchise was turning the corner. I really felt like they were going to be relevant. They were bringing a different brand of football, really great defense. The defense hasn't even showed up this year. I don't care if Jalen Ramsey's missing games. That defense has not showed up this year.
No, it hasn't. I expected the defensive line to be a lot better, and it hasn't. And I think they're underachieving immensely. But, yeah, you just add up all the things that have gone wrong. Even Telvin Smith not showing up this year.
Yeah.
There's just so many things. It's not the same team that we expected. They literally were maybe a quarterback and an extra receiver away from a Super Bowl.
And Chark emerged this year, so they should have been good. They had enough targets. Yeah. Chark emerged, and you would think, man, this team is going to be dangerous. Luck retires, but nothing comes to fruition. They seem to be maybe the third best team in that division, and it's probably going to continue like that for quite some time. Just to finish on the Rams, though, I'm not counting the Rams out. I am not counting the Rams out. Not yet.
Well, if they lose this week, I think then we're going to obviously, if they lose to the Falcons, who are in a really bad spot, then I think we can start to panic because they'll be back 3-4 games, whatever it is.
Yeah, if they lose to the Falcons, season's over.
Yeah.
Season's over. Because realistically, the way the NFC is shaping up, even to get one of the wild cards, probably going to be 10 wins at least, right? 10 wins. At least. This might be one of the years, like, I remember Bruce Arians won like 10 or 11 games at the Cardinals, and he was sent packing and went home. It might be one of those years.
And you're right, and this is a situation where they have to go on a tear. They got to win 7 games in a row, 6 games in a row to get back into this, and we already said what needs to happen. Gurley needs to come back. That offensive line, that run game needs to get going, open up the playbook, and then obviously, and then we still have to see how Ramsey fits in all this. We got to see if he suits up.
Still a hole at that corner position next to Ramsey, so that's going to be an issue.
And with that, subscribe at the Lawson and Gift Podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, share the video.
Subscribe.